I would like now to give the floor to Ahmet Sözen, professor at the Eastern Mediterranean University, and I thank also Ahmet, president of the European Liberal and Democrats Party, to be with us today. She will be at the lunch and then for the afternoon session. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the Transnational Radical Party, and specifically Mr. Capato, Mr. Panella, Mr. Turco, and Perduca for inviting me to this lively conference. I know how difficult it is to be the last speaker, especially in a very tiring day. I don't know how much of your attention I can get, but I'll try my best to animate you as much as possible. Well, I am a professor, or rather a student of international relations, besides being a peace activist, or sometimes it is vice versa. And let me tell you that I love my job. International relations is both my full-time job and also my hobby, and my passion and pride with international relations comes from the mission of this discipline. As you know, discipline of international relations was established after World War I with a noble mission to scientifically study ways of preventing wars. And I think that we should keep on hanging on that mission today. And this ties very well with promoting peace and democracy, and more specifically developing ways of nonviolent methods of solving problems. I believe that majority sitting in this very auditorium today are somewhat consciously or without being aware of it, are the sort of recruits or soldiers of this mission. However, unfortunately, we sometimes see many international actors, including leaders of influential countries, rather falling into harsh realpolitik or power politics approaches a la Peloponnesian Wars, sort of living in an era of Leviathan, sort of state of anarchy. Ladies and gentlemen, there are defining moments in history. World War I, World War II, the end of the Cold War are but a few examples. It's of great importance as to how well the statesmen of the world, decision makers, and the intellectuals can capitalize on these defining moments. If these defining moments are capitalized successfully, this will positively affect the international conjuncture and create a positive atmosphere where conflicts are prevented and the existing ones are resolved in non-violent, peaceful means. The end of the Cold War, unfortunately, could not be capitalized very well, and it only remained as a defining moment lost. The ethnic conflicts and wars, such as in the former Yugoslavia and Bosnia, which could neither be prevented nor successfully managed by Europe after the end of the Cold War, had dangerously sharpened the factor of religion globally, and in a way promoted this crappy, pardon my French, but I would call it crappy, hypothesis of clash of civilizations, and in a way turned it into a self-fulfilling prophecy. In the Middle East, perhaps, the inability to find a peaceful and just solution to the Israeli-Palestinian problem, the sort of mother of all conflicts in the Middle East, has caused negative effects on the international system and unfortunately dragged us to September 11, 2001 events. After September 11, the crusade initiated by US against global Islamic terrorism, first in Afghanistan and later in Iraq, and the US inclining towards unilateral preemptive strikes have been the biggest blow against the international system which was created after World War II based on such norms as multilateralism, deterrence. There are immediate things that Europe should do or can do by grasping the defining moments. Europe should play a proactive role in finding a just and fair solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which is the source of many problems in the Middle East. Second, to isolate itself from the policies of the United States, which is based on hard power towards Iraq, Iran and Syria, and follow policies that are based on soft power and non-violent methods towards these countries. Today, one of the factors that can soften and eradicate Islamophobia, which is rising in Europe, is probably Turkey's EU membership. It is unfortunately a fact that neither Turkey nor EU know each other well. And I'm reminded that I think it is 12:30. The translators will stop, or should I continue?
I think they have a small flexibility, so you have to go to the conclusions, let's say.
Well, the Turkish membership to European Union will be a litmus test for European Union. When you look at it in an objective way, you see that European Union has not been successful in giving a clear message to Turkey. It's been an ambivalent messages. I think I shall stop here, and maybe in the afternoon, because I hate to break my presentation and bring it to conclusion now. So I'll say goodbye for now, and we'll continue in the afternoon. Welcome to episode 2, or part 2. I told you at the beginning of my speech that it's very difficult to be the last speaker before lunch, and I think it's also very difficult to be the first one after a heavy lunch. But let me remind you that in my speech I first of all gave you a kind of global picture of how I read contemporary international relations. From there on, I mentioned how defining moments in world politics could be capitalized to make a better world. And in the rest of my speech, I would like to give you 2 defining moments as an example, coming to a more micro level of how these 2 defining moments were by and large missed by European Union. But at the end, I'll conclude with some of my individual remarks. And I'll conclude again saying that although there are 2 defining moments, one related with Turkey and the other one related with Turkish Cypriots, are missed, I still believe that the EU has a lot to do to fix its past mistakes. As I mentioned at the end of my speech, Turkey's membership, the accession negotiations between Turkey and European Union, will be a litmus test in understanding whether the EU is going to be on the right track. Now, having said that, both EU and Turkey need more exposure, need more networks to know each other, because I think that there is a lack of exposure. The two actors do not really know each other well. In the last several years, there has been very serious reforms towards democratization in Turkey, and the EU carrot or the EU conditionality played a prime role in getting Turkey to take these steps. And I think if these steps, if the EU keep on giving mixed messages to Turkey, I think that would be a big waste. I think another issue which the EU failed or had been unable to succeed in capitalizing was a defining moment in Cyprus 3 years ago, when finally the United Nations Secretary General, as a product of intercommunal negotiations which started the year I was born, back in '68. The intercommunal negotiations in Cyprus started back in 1968 without any breakthrough. And 3 years ago, the comprehensive solution plan that the United Nations prepared and was put to simultaneous separate referenda in Cyprus was a big missed opportunity, because that was not actualized by an overwhelming no vote from the Greek Cypriot side, which was 76% of people said no to this comprehensive solution plan. The Secretary General of United Nations, 1 month after the referenda, wrote a report to the Security Council saying that there is no rational logic left to keep on isolating Turkish Cypriots, and he called on all member states to get into bilateral relations in order to lift the isolations on Turkish Cypriots. And what he said in his report is that we should respect the decision of the Greek Cypriots, but what they refuse is not a particular plan, but the solution of the Cyprus problem. And that if they are interested in a solution in Cyprus based on power sharing, then this needs to be demonstrated by deeds and not by words. Let me remind you, ladies and gentlemen, of a very important example which I believe most of you are not aware. Between the years 2002 and 2004, the run-up to the referenda, during the negotiations for the production of the comprehensive solution plan, the Turkish Cypriot people took it to the streets in mass demonstrations, and I mean mass demonstrations in the sense that 60,000 people were marching, which is about 1/3 of the population in the north. Imagine in a country that 1/3 of the population were taking it to the streets in mass demonstrations, in maturity, in a democratic maturity, in a non-violent way, without even one person getting injured in those demonstrations, saying that we want to be part of European Union, we want to have a comprehensive solution and become a member of European Union in a united Ireland. I think that a people, a community who has done such